Hello, and welcome to another trigger tutorial. This one's going to cover having some fun with some projectiles. In the past, it has been possible to make custom projectiles for units by looping the transform all units trigger. However, with the introduction of patch 2.8, there are some new triggers that allow you to do even more. Let me show you this scene in action first. So one of the restrictions was that you could not fire different units based on the number of based on the players. So if you change the arrows into a unit, it had to be done for all players. However, this restriction is no longer the case, as we will see in a moment. So as you can see, my units are firing curses, whilst the enemy units are firing Acanthos boosts, which are different units, even though both of them are firing arrows. I'll show you now how this works. So if I go into the triggers, I have set up a Y search. The search locates the arrows and checks the ownership. Now, new to patch 2.8 is a command called Mutate Type, which I'm using the Y search variant of it. This is like the transform trigger, but applies to a single unit or selection of units instead of everything. So here, I simply check if the owner is player 1, mutate into one unit, else mutate into the second unit. Obviously, this extends for any number of players. The Y search structure still needs to be preserved, of course, with a start, conditions, and condition N for every single effect. A second trick I want to show you, which is something that was already kind of previously possible, but with some new twists. So one thing that happens when you do projectiles normally is those units are selectable and movable. However, sometimes you want these to be more ghost-like and just appear as the projectiles, but not actually be interactable in any way. I'll show you what I mean with this. So we've got these archers. These archers are going to fire at the wonder. And as you can see, they create lamparders. However, these lamparders don't actually exist. If you look at the minimap, there are no units appearing. And similarly, I can't actually select these lamparders. They're ghost-like. This trick is useful, first of all, because you can't interfere with the projectiles, but secondly, they're also more efficient because the game doesn't have to update collisions and other nonsense like that. So, this comes down to three things that are required. First of all, in the setup, you need to set the arrows to have a really small lifespan. Age of Mythology floating point numbers are limited to 6 decimal places of precision. So the smallest value you can have is 0.00001. The idea of this is that this will kill the object almost immediately as it spawns. And the lifespan deaths act a little bit differently to hit point deaths, which is why I'm using lifespan as opposed to hit points. Now, the only problem with this is because the lifespan has a short time, it sometimes happens that the unit is found before it's actually died. We can get around this by using a database. So if I go into the search trigger, we've got the start search as per usual, and I'm searching for the arrow flaming. But instead of doing my effects immediately, I'm instead adding to a database and then ending the trigger. I've then got a separate database which also is on a loop with no conditions, and here we search the arrows that have been placed in there, and here we can delay our effects until the arrow is definitely dead. With this, I've got a set scale which currently doesn't do anything, but I'll show you why I've got it in a moment, and then the mutate command again to change into the unit. It is important that the unit is dead before the transformation occurs, because if the unit is still alive, the unit will die in midair and you will not get the ghost-like effect. The final part is I've just got the remove from the database. This is to ensure that it does not get repeatedly searched even though it's already changed. Now, the set scale I had as doing nothing just because I wanted to show you the units being there and ghost-like. But one really cool new trick you can do in patch 2.8 is change the scale of the units in midair. Now, if you set a scale of a unit to 0, you don't see the physical object. However, any auroras or any effects that the unit produces does get shown. As a result, you can create lots of really cool effects where the unit produced an aurora, but now you just see the aurora. I'll show you what I mean with the lampadaires. If I attack now, we'll just see the little orb that they create instead, which I think makes a really cool looking projectile. There are tons of units in Age of Mythology that have this. I can show you another couple of examples. Let's instead try mutating to relics so that you get the little spark in the middle, but not see the actual relic. Here we are. And let's do one more example. Let's change it to Guardian XP so that you get the nice, really cool blue glow.
Skopos? Mak.
There we go. As you can see, there's lots of cool new little particles that you can make. So go ahead and experiment to your heart's content. Just thought I'd show you quickly as a little bonus with the projectiles, which I forgot to mention in the main part of the video. One of the things you can do with some of the new effects is you can force the animations of the units. Some animations have special effects that do not display in the normal state. An example being Anubites or other units, when you place them, create a nice sparkly effect on placement, which then disappears. We can now force this effect to appear, and combined with the setting the scale to 0 and the ghosting effect, means you can now have projectiles simply just showing that effect and nothing else. I'll show you what I've changed with that. So if I go into the database triggers, now we've got our condition is dead as per usual, and we've got our mutate. I've now got a set animation by name. From my previous tutorial about the new triggers, the animation represents what you can see in the animation viewer with all the different types shown. What this does is it allows you to override the animation to the one that you want. I'm going to make sure that loop is on and the flag for release on death is set off. The looping makes sure that the unit stays in animation, whilst the release on death ensures that the animation stays on even though the unit is dead. And similar to before, we've now got the set scale setting to 0. So I'll show you this in effect.
Skopos, Yuji. Porofras.
Here we go. We've now got the Anubite effect now. Let's do a couple of other examples just to show you for fun. Another one that you might be wanting to do for a while is the rainbows from the Hippo. Now the Hippo does not create a rainbow whilst it is idle. However, when it is moving or when it is at birth, it will work. Now the moving name for the Hippo is walk. So we'll set that up now, and we'll make sure that it is the flying purple hippo. And let's give that a run.
Yuji Eschlost. Dilis Moke.
And here we go. We now have archers that fire rainbows at your enemies. Behold the light. And let's do one last example. Let's have the Akantos birth effect, which is quite bright and cool. So we can do Akantos God. And when he gets placed, he has a nice, interesting sparkle. So let's use that and see what we get.
Skopos Eschlost. Yuji.
There we go, a really bright particle effect. Hopefully you found this useful. Keep a lookout for further tutorials and have a great day.